Gender roles, out of the bedroom and into the bin, with the Rosie Project. Content warning. This video contains sex education materials. This video mentions genitals, sex acts, and bodily functions. If you're not comfortable hearing this content, consider switching off now. We know that really good sex involves everyone feeling comfortable and 100% into what's about to happen. We know people should feel comfortable and confident in their bodies, and that all bodies should experience sex and pleasure that is right for them. We know that to have good sex, we need to be able to talk about sex and explore what feels good to our bodies and know how to communicate that. But why is it often so hard to have good sex? Why might we struggle to feel confident and comfortable in the bedroom? And why is it so awkward to talk about sex, especially when we're about to do it? Today, we're going to look at how gender roles negatively impact our ability to have good sex.
Fact. To have good sex, everyone needs to feel comfortable and be able to communicate what they're into and what they're not into. Gender role. Boys are meant to be experienced and take the lead in bed, whilst girls are more submissive.
The idea that men take the lead in sex and that women are meant to be virginal or passive in the bedroom is a gender role that we see all the time in movies, songs and TV. People also might hear these gender stereotypes from those around them as well, maybe from family or friends, or even insults that they hear at school. For example, a girl getting called a slut or a guy being shamed for not having sex yet. Now, firstly, for boys, this can put pressure on them to feel like they need to know how to have good sex, whatever good sex may be. Talking about sex, looking at pornography or masturbation is expected for teenage boys. This means that boys are having greater access to information and sex education. And how good the sex education might be another story, but having access to that can give them a greater sense of confidence or even power during sex. These gender roles can also put huge pressure on for girls, and for lots of girls they talk about it being a double standard. Like for boys, girls might be insulted for not having sex, for example being called frigid, but girls can also be insulted if they do want to have sex or feel confidence with sex or with their own sexuality. Words like slut, whore or slag can discourage girls from exploring or expressing their sexuality, leaving many women feeling less confident and therefore having less power in the bedroom. These gender roles reaffirm an unequal power dynamic between girls and boys, with boys socialised to have more power, control and confidence in the bedroom, whilst girls are expected to be more submissive or just generally be less into sex. The fear of not acting in the right way can stop people from being honest about what they want and what they want to do, but also it can stop them from being honest about the things that they don't want to do. For example, boys might watch porn when actually they don't want to, or girls might not have sex despite feeling ready for it because they're worried about what people might say at school. However, we know that for good sex, everyone needs to feel comfortable to say what they like and what they don't like, and to have time and space to explore their sexuality. Sex is something that we do with someone, not something that we do to someone. This means no one person should ever have power over someone else, not in relationships, and certainly not during sex. And this is why we need to challenge this gender stereotype and the gender role of boys being experienced and girls being pure or virginal needs to get out of the bedroom and into the bin.
Fact. Sex is about pleasure for all parties and does not always need to involve an orgasm. Gender role. Sex ends when the man ejaculates.
Often in movies and porn, we see that sex always ends directly after when a man ejaculates. Rarely, if ever, do we see the other people involved being checked in on to see whether they need some stimulation to have an orgasm as well. So what are we learning from this? Well, this often gives people the impression that sex is all about ejaculation, that something is seriously wrong if a guy doesn't ejaculate. And it shows us that men's orgasms are the focus of sex. Sex should be pleasurable and fun the whole time. It is a fun exploration of our own and another's bodies, our desires, our connections. Focusing on ejaculation can take us out of the moment and make sex all about something that's really just an extra bit of fun at the end. It's not the main event. Also, it's important that a woman's desires and needs are seen and valued as just as important as the man's. Sex is not fun nor good if it's only about one person.
Fact. Relationships do not have to be gendered, and there is no right way to have sex. Gender role. There's always a man and woman, even in queer relationships.
Both films and porn depict the same or similar sexual scripts, which is that there is a normal way of having sex that involves a man and a woman having penis and vagina sex or penetrative sex. This means that the societal messages we're receiving about sex are heteronormative, meaning that straight sex is depicted as more normal than queer sex. Only receiving heteronormative depictions of sex is a major contributor of homophobia and violence towards the LGBTQ+ community, along with invalidating the love and sexual experiences of people within that community. Also, there is no right way or more normal way to have sex between consenting adults. Whatever feels best for everyone and what feels good and normal for everyone's bodies is the right way to have sex. The heteronormative sexual script or messages we receive is also very gendered. When a same-gender couple is together, you might hear someone say, "Who's the guy and who's the girl in the relationship?" What this question means is who is the more masculine and who is the more feminine in the relationship. Because porn and films predominantly show straight sex, many people believe that in queer or gay relationships, there always will be a more masculine or more dominant person and a more feminine and submissive person. But this is not true. Many people in gay or queer relationships discuss how freeing and more enjoyable sex and relationships are when they're able to challenge and step away from rigid gender roles. Stepping away from gender roles also encourages people to be more critical of power and feel more empowered and comfortable during sex.
Fact. Sex should be pleasurable and fun for everyone, all the time. Gender role. It's normal that sometimes sex hurts for girls or women. Sex should always feel good for everyone, yet people still talk about how sometimes penis and vagina, or PIV sex, can hurt for girls, especially the first time they have sex. However, sex should not be painful for anyone at any time. Bodies go through a lot of change when aroused that stops PIV sex from being painful. So it is important to take time to get into the mood before trying any penetrative sex. Using a mixture of natural lubricants, made by the vagina once aroused and stimulated, and synthetic lubricants helps to ensure sex feels good for everyone. If there is some discomfort when having sex, stop. Take a break. Try some lubricant or some other sexual behaviour. Penetration isn't everything. And if you're still struggling to have sex without discomfort, chat to your doctor, find out what else might help your body. It is important we challenge this normalising of pain during sex for women, as it is also used to normalise hurting women or not listening to women during sex. For more information on this topic, go to www.bishuk.com. That's www.bishuk.com. Fact. All bodies are sexy. Gender role. We need to look a certain way and change our bodies to be sexy and have sex.
People who have sex in films, TV and porn all seem to have bodies that look one particular way. This, plus being increasingly online, looking at celebrities and Instagram influencers, can put pressure on people to make our bodies look a certain way. This can feel all too real and intense during sex. It's important for us to challenge these messages, as the perfect body doesn't really exist. The idea that we can obtain a perfect body makes us think our body is an object, something to mould or change. Our body is not an object and should not be objectified. Our body is us, and we're all sexy in our own way when we want to be. Any and everybody should feel good, comfortable and sexy during sex. And partners should make you feel sexy at all times. It's not okay for others to make you feel shamed about your body at any time, but especially not during sex.
For sex to be sex, not even just good sex. We know that consent is key. Many of these harmful gender roles make it difficult to practice good consent. This is why gender stereotypes and roles in relationships not only stop us from having good sex, but they perpetuate sexual violence and gender inequality. We all want to have good sex, if we're interested in having sex at all, and we all want to feel safe and comfortable while we do it. We can all have safe and really good sex by practicing good consent, talking about our sex with all of our sexual partners, and getting these harmful gender roles out of the bedroom and into the bin.